the competent wife, some call it. Whatever your Bible may head it, we're going to be looking at the end of that passage, Proverbs chapter 31, and I am down starting at verse 28. Proverbs chapter 31, beginning at verse 28, it says, "Her children bless her. Her husband praises her." Excuse me. "Many women act competently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." I just want to start off by noticing something here. It says that her children bless her and her husband praises her. If we were to grab a lesson from this morning in relationship to Mother's Day, it would be simply this. We need to be a people who tell our mothers that we love them and that we honor them, that we are thankful for them. Having been a child, having children now of my own, I know that sometimes we get frustrated with parents, right? And sometimes we let those frustration words out way quicker than we'll ever let out the words of encouragement. The Bible tells us that a word aptly spoken is like an apple of gold in settings of silver. In other words, our words make an impact, and they can either be positive or they can be negative. When it comes in relationship to our mothers, we need to use positive words and tell them that we're thankful, that we praise her. Praise her for the things that she has done in bringing us up. Praise her maybe for the way that she has loved God and the lessons that she has given, but we praise her. And we use those words to express it. Do you know what 3 words women say more than any other phrase? The 3 words are, yes, I love you. Women use those all the time. Do you know what 3 words men use less than any other phrase? I love you. The exact same phrase. We like to say things like likewise or me too or you too or whatever. And we throw those out there. Women, mothers especially, love to hear their kids say, I love you. And we need to take up that responsibility and that phraseology before it comes too late. A few years ago in a Dear Abby article, if you remember Dear Abby from the newspaper, this writer wrote in this little story. It says, "I enlisted shortly after Pearl Harbor. 36 days later, I was on my way to the Philippines. En route to the Philippines fell to the Japanese, and we were routed out to Australia. 11 days after we landed, I met the most beautiful girl in the world. On our first date, I told her I was going to marry her, and I did 18 months later while on a 10-day R&R leave from New Guinea. After more than 57 years of marriage and 2 children, my beloved Mary died 5 days before Christmas. Although we agreed that our ashes were to be scattered over the mountains, I found I could not part with hers. While Mary was alive, she would frequently say to me, 'You don't know how much I love you.' I would reply, 'Likewise.' I never said, 'I love you.' Now her ashes are on my dresser where I tell her several times a day how much I love her, but it's too late. Although I wrote poetry to her, I could not bring myself to say the 3 words I knew she wanted most to hear. And as my dearest was dying, and we thought she was comatose, I told her, 'There aren't enough words to tell you how much I love you.' A few hours later, she whispered back, 'Not enough words,' and then she died. The reason I'm writing is to urge men to express their feelings while their loved ones are alive. I don't know why, but many men are reluctant to express the depth of their feelings." We got to say those words. We got to use our voice. Notice what it says. It says that the children bless her. This is something they do with their voice. Her husband praises her. This is something that's done with the voice. If your mother is alive, if you're able to get near her, if you're able to communicate with her in any way today of all days, if not every day, tell her what she means. Tell her that you love her. Second way, take care of her. Jesus on a cross. What can he do for his mother, right? Well, obviously he can do a lot because he's Jesus and he's saving the world. But there was a moment when he was on the cross, a scene too beautiful almost for words. I think that's why it's so downplayed in the scriptures, in which he took care of his mother even as he was dying for the world. John chapter 19, beginning at verse 25. It says, Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene stood near the cross. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved, that is John, standing nearby, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that time on, this disciple took her into his home. What's being said there is that Jesus was hanging on the cross. He saw his mother. Most scholars believe that Jesus' father died early in his life. That's why we don't have a whole lot of writings about Joseph, his earthly father. They believe that he must have passed away early on. But Mary was there with him all through his ministry and was there to see her son hanging on a cross. Any mother who has gone through the torment of watching her child die knows how difficult this must have been for Mary to be standing there watching her son hanging on the cross. Yet in the agony that he bore, in the weight of sin that was upon him, he took a moment to stop, look at his mother, and say, "He's going to take care of you now. John, you take care of my mother." And John adapted that as his lifestyle. He was willing to take care of his mother even in the most crazy of circumstances. You and I, we have a responsibility. As our mothers get older, as we get older, we have a responsibility to take care, to be a person who is willing to help out, to reach out and to help in those times of need. Far too often I see families I see families depend upon different aids that are available to take care of a responsibility that they themselves should be taking care of. I'm not saying that a nursing home is always a wrong decision or that a live-in nurse is always a wrong decision, because there are times when the help needed is beyond our capabilities, and I get that. But for many of us, by and far, we need to remember that the scriptures tell us in the book of Timothy that we are supposed to be the ones who take care of our family. We're supposed to be the ones who go there and make sure that the provisions are being met. We need to be like Jesus and say, "I'm going to take care of you even until my last hour." We need to step up and take that responsibility. When Dr. Dobson was still with Focus on the Family Radio, he read a letter that he had received from an 80-year-old woman. She had written this letter hoping that he would read it on her 80th birthday, and he did. This is what the woman said. "To all of my children, I suppose my upcoming birthday started my thoughts along these lines. This is a good time to tell you what I truly want, and they are things that I can never get enough of, yet they are free for you. I want the intangibles. I would like for you to come and sit with me, and for you to be relaxed while you are here. We can talk, or we can be silent. I would just like for us to be together. I need your patience when I don't hear what you say the first time. I know how tiresome it is to always be repeating, but sometimes I must ask you to repeat. I need your patience when I think too much about the past with my slowness and my set ways. I want you to be tolerant with what the years have done to me physically. Please be understanding about my personal care habits. I spill things, I lose things, I get unduly excited when I try to figure out my bank statements. I can't remember what time to take my medications or if I took them already. I do take too many naps. Sometimes sleep helps me to pass the day away." Well, there you have it. Time, patience, and understanding. Those are priceless gifts that I want from you. Finally, in his letter, the Apostle Paul wrote, "I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me." I know that I can. It's a wonderful feeling to know his eyes are on the sparrow, and I know that he cares for me. I guess being old isn't so bad after all. Love, Mom. What did this mother request? Simply time, care, provision. I especially like the line where she said, "When you're here, I want you to be relaxed." How many of us are guilty, myself included, of visiting with our mothers, of visiting with our parents, of visiting with anybody, and we're still a slave to the phone? If it goes off, we're going to respond because we can't just take that effort to put it down. We think we're too busy, we're too mighty, we're too important. You know what? If you died today, the world would still be going on. It would probably be okay 15 minutes from now when you're done visiting. Think about that for just a little bit. There's your line, Kinsey. I said it. She makes fun of me all the time for saying, think about that for just a little bit, but think about it. If we would just think about it a little bit more, we might be a little bit more personable. It's amazing. Social media has made us antisocial. It's crazy, isn't it? Just some time. Jesus, in a moment when he had no time to spare, his time on this earth was done, said, Mom, I'm going to take care of you. And there's one more thing. Our words, our action, but then we need to remember the faith that was given to us and put it into work. Many in this room have been given a faith that did not start with you. It actually started way before that with God, but in your family line, maybe it started with your mother. She was the one who used to sing those hymns to you or make sure you got to church. She was the one who made you dress a certain way on Sunday, even though you didn't want to. It's amazing how many parents you'll see outside on a Sunday telling their kids to not do something because they're going to get their clothes dirty. I'm sorry, they're kids. They're going to get their clothes dirty. That's just part of the deal, right? But you remember those moments and you remember those stories because your mother was placing in you a faith. In 2 Timothy, the first chapter, Paul writes these words, I'm grateful to God whom I serve with a good conscience as my ancestors did. I'm constantly remember you in my prayers day and night, and when I remember your tears, I long to see you so that I can be filled with happiness. I'm reminded of your authentic faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I'm sure that that faith is in you as well. Because of this, I'm reminding you to revive God's gift that is in you through the laying on of my hands. God didn't give us a spirit that is timid, but one that is powerful, loving, and self-controlled. What's he saying? He's saying, Timothy, I know you're going through a difficult time right now. I know that things may not be the way that you planned them to be, but you remember that faith that your mother had. Make her proud. Bring it back up. Revive it. Kindle it. The Greek word there means to stir it, as stirring a fire, to get the flames to come back up. Get going with that faith. So many of us have allowed our faith to become lackadaisical. We come to church on Sunday, sometimes when it's convenient, when the schedule allows, but any other time, we don't pray together, we don't read our scriptures, we don't do any of this stuff because that's Sunday stuff, that's church stuff. What Paul is saying to Timothy here is, no, do you remember that faith that was active in your mother's life, in your grandmother's life? Get that same kind of faith in you. Make it more than a one-a-day deal. Make it something that's vital and that's living and that's... Do you want a TMI moment in my life? No? You say no? Good. I'll give it directly to you and to nobody else in the room, okay? Do you know what my wife tells me? She says... Now, I don't know if this is true or not. She's there. You can ask her. But the times in life when I am most handsome to her is when I am standing before people preaching. Do you not say that? I want people to know I'm not lying. I'm not making this up. It's not because I'm any better looking. Would you all agree? Finally some response here. And it's when you get to make fun of me. Okay, I see how this is going to go. It's not because I'm any more good looking. It's not because I'm any brighter. It's not because I'm any stronger, any taller, or any cooler. It's because there's a faith that she can see. Do you know when your mother is the proudest? When that faith she gave to you is being lived out. Fan it into flame. Fan it into flame. What a gift that would be for Mother's Day. To say some kind words, to spend a little time, and to be real about your faith. That's what the Bible tells us our mothers want. I haven't taken a poll, but I guess if we went around this room, that'd be a pretty good start. And maybe every now and then throw in a nice gift and let them know that you care. Well, today is Mother's Day, and I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. To all of the hurting out there because Mother isn't here, live for her now. Don't let her memory be something that goes in vain. Happy Mother's Day. We're going to stand and we're going to sing a closing song, and as we sing it, if If you want to come up somehow and just tell your mother Happy Mother's Day, or maybe just walk over to her and give her a hug, or whatever the case may be, you're more than welcome to do that as we sing this song.